with Mary through the course of the century, 1922 to 2022 and beyond. Sister Luigina Appiano. She was just 26, young in age and in spirit. Born in Pisa in Tuscany, Italy, she was a teacher and a very accomplished musician with a compassionate heart for the sick and suffering. Her spirit of obedience and submission was outstanding, her fidelity to duty and to the rules exemplary, and her spirit of mortification and patience matchless. She was bereft of ego and was always the first to go down on her knees to ask pardon. She was in charge of the orphanage and workroom, looked after young girls, teaching them needlework and music. All they had were 2 sewing machines and a harmonium. She said, "The feast will now be more wonderful. Music, singing, celebrating the liturgy festively are typically Salesian ways of fostering joy in the atmosphere, because a sad saint is a sorry saint." She was an embodiment of the spirit of Mornese, guarding its traditions and rules. Her sole aim was to give the best to God and to the Institute. She was a fervent and a generous soul who usually made herself available for any kind of work. On October 2nd, 1924, the Feast of the Guardian Angel, a creche was inaugurated in a little cottage with mud walls with 8 infants to start with. It was called the Holy Infancy. Sister Luigina was to supervise the creche. She initiated the Don Bosco Club at the request of the young people of the parish. Catechesis, stitching, embroidery, and recreations were part of the program. As the superior of the community, when she saw a difficult day ahead, she would read a page of Pinocchio to the sisters so they could start the day with a hearty laugh and chase away the blues. In the year 1932, Sister Luigina was the newly appointed novice mistress for the 5 novices. She had qualities of the mind and heart, but her health was poor for this task of self-sacrifice and responsibility. As a consequence of a terrible malady she had before she came to India, she suffered from periodic attacks of nausea and had to take to bed and remain fasting. She repeatedly asked to be relieved of her charge. In 1933, there was a change of novice mistress, and Sister Appiano was appointed as the provincial secretary. As a faithful secretary to the provincial, Mother Tulia di Berardinis, the first FMA provincial of India, Sister Appiano traveled to the Far East, to Colombo, China, Japan. She recounted how on one occasion, when they went to see a building for sale on the other side of the river, they narrowly escaped being drowned in trying to climb to the landing from the boat. While the others clung to the rings, Sister Luigina was carried away by the current. The aspirants present there, being good swimmers, went to her help, and then a good man rescued them. In 1937, Sister Luigina Appiano, as counselor for studies, often gathered the teaching sisters to update them on scholastic and disciplinary norms, thus facilitating the development of the school. On the feast of Don Bosco 1946, the Archbishop entrusted the FMA with a school in Vadala, close to Don Bosco Matunga. They would have to teach there till they could have their own school. In November 1947, Sister Luigina was destined to a new mission, bristling with difficulties in Siam and Bangkok. Later, she was called to Bombay. She was asleep on the upper berth and had a fall, which left her with 3 broken ribs. In 1965, she celebrated her golden jubilee of religious profession at Yercaud. She died on 2nd May 1970 at Yercaud at the age of 73, always giving her best to God and to the Institute.